Deion Sanders is totally transcendent to college football. Like, do you get it? I think the closer you may be to the sport, the less you may get this, because you're in the weeds no matter what. If you talk to a casual or even agnostic fan of college football, they don't even know anything about the sport. They couldn't tell you Michigan State's mascot to save their lives. He's who they're talking about. You may be talking about Bama playing Texas Saturday. You may be talking about whether Mario's going to get figured out, whether Mike Norvell has arrived in the ACC. That's not what they're talking about. They're talking about Coach Prime. They're talking about Deion Sanders out at Colorado. That is called transcending your space. He matters outside, like Tom Brady did that in the NFL. Taylor Swift has done that in music. Deion Sanders is doing that in college football. Again, the further away you are from the sport, the quicker you are to agree with me on that. That's a good news, bad news thing for us. Those of us here inside the bubble, it's good news because it brings more attention to our sport. The bad news is it brings more attention to our sport. And some of that attention is held by the most casual-minded people you could ever hope to run into. They are the drive-by crowd. They're the ones who pull up, know nothing about nothing, and they're the first to talk. Because as Meemaw used to say all the time, those who know the least usually run their mouths the most. And she was right, and we're finding out again. So some of the things that I saw yesterday, and I'm not going to do anyone the dignity of even putting this online or putting it up for you to see, you're going to start hearing things. And I'm going to beg you guys, don't get sucked in. There was a beat writer for the Cowboys yesterday who showed video of some TCU students yelling obscenities at Deion while he was on the field last week. And Deion blew a kiss to him, by the way, which is beautiful. And this dude says, do you think that Nick Saban or Mac Brown ever have to deal with fans chanting F you at them? You obviously understand what the implication there is. And to the credit of everyone, regardless of affiliation, regardless of gender or race, I think it was virtually 100% of our people, our college football people, that just jumped down this dude's throat to the point where he deleted the tweet. And that's what you have to do with casuals. You have to shame them. You have to shame casual opinions until they completely evaporate. But that stuff's going to start happening. Because a lot of people don't care about football. A lot of people care about storylines. A lot of people care about drama. A lot of people care about injecting it into a situation if it doesn't exist. So you're going to see it. I'm telling you, you're going to see it. You know it's coming. Just get ready for it and understand how to extinguish it, especially if it doesn't exist. Now, if we got problems that do exist, that's a totally different conversation. So the other thing that I think is interesting, I saw our buddy Jack McGuire, who is doing real big numbers over there with Unnecessary Roughness and his secondary roles there and tertiary roles there at Barstool. He did a video the other day and he said, hey, everyone keeps calling out Deion haters. Where are they? Where are the Deion haters? And he said, this dude's on every billboard. He's on every commercial. He's a front page of every website right now. Everyone's talking about him. Where are the haters? It feels like the people calling out the haters outnumber the haters 10-1. Oh, Deion's got haters. He's got them. Maybe not nearly to the quantity that his defenders claim that they exist, but they exist. They exist for a few different reasons. The first kind of Deion hater is just the kind that's a little more old school, and you don't have to think of yourself as a hater. So let's just say people who don't care for him, all right? Let's sanitize it a little bit. There are some people who just don't like the way he goes about his business. Totally your prerogative. That's fine. My stance on it is I kind of love what he's doing, and I don't really even care how I personally feel about it. I'm weird about that. I'm the same way with politicians. I put my personal feelings about them and their personalities to the side. I just have like one thing I care about. In politics, are you going to make my life easier? You're going to keep more money in my pocket? You got my vote. In college football, do you bring more interest to the sport? Do you inject more good into the sport than you take out of it? Like, do you give to the sport? Are you interesting? Are you fun to watch? If you are, I don't really care if I like you or not. I happen to like Deion, but if I didn't like him personally, I wouldn't care. You wouldn't hear me tell you. If I didn't like him, you'd never hear me tell you. And so there are people out there who don't feel like that. And in fact, I'm abnormal. Most normal people, if they don't like you, they're not going to pull for you. In no shape, form, or fashion will they ever root for you, or will they ever say, oh, good job, I'm glad Deion and Colorado pulled it out today. I've always been interested in how coaches feel about him. I told you guys once before, and I'll tell you once more, there are a bunch of coaches who outwardly are going to claim to love what he's doing because they know it's horrible business to be seen rooting against Deion Sanders right now, but they are absolutely rooting against him behind the scenes. I know. I've talked to some of them about it, and I certainly did not get permission to share their names on record, but I'll tell you what they know. They know Deion Sanders is turning the heat up on other coaches. They know that they've been able to preach patience, and they've been able to preach process to their boosters and their fans and their alumni network, and they've been able to tell them it's going to take a few years for us to fix this program. And look, candidly, I think that's true 99% of the time. But they got a problem. Deion Sanders is a problem for them because Deion just walked into not Georgia, not Michigan. He walked into Colorado, a total poverty program, 1 win last year, and said, it's like a clapper. The lamp comes on, and all of a sudden, all the talent's there, and all of a sudden, Colorado's the talk of college football, and voila, TCU's in the national championship one moment, they're getting beat by Colorado the next moment, and coaches know. Coaches know what their fans are thinking. Coaches know what their ADs are thinking, what their boosters are thinking. They're thinking, if that guy can do it at Colorado, why are we being told it's going to take 2 or 3 years here? Now, there may be reality out there where there's only one Deion Sanders. That may be logic and reality. It may be logic and reality that you could never expect to duplicate what he's doing in Boulder, Colorado elsewhere. But that's logic and reality. There is no room for logic in an illogical situation, and you're going to find yourself, if you're struggling as a second-year head coach especially, in third year, fourth year, if you're struggling, you're not going to be able to sell what you've been able to sell to this point, because Deion Sanders is going to ruin it for you. Not that he cares. And the other thing that's going to be a problem, and these are the folks that are really going to come to hate him down the road if they don't already, is a lot of folks in my profession are not going to like him. Which is ironic because he is delivering ungodly numbers for you even as I speak. But there are a lot of people, not a lot, there are some people in sports media who think that they're the story rather than their role being to cover the story. This exists elsewhere, but it exists in our world too. And the thing about Deion Sanders is he is actually the story, and his players are the story, and his program right now, it's the story. It's always going to be a story. And yeah, that alone rubs some people the wrong way, but if it were just that, it'd be okay. I mean, these people have covered folks they didn't like before. Here's the problem. Deion Sanders gets he can also control the communication of his messaging directly. He understands he can essentially run a production network in conjunction with his football program, and he can get his message out there directly. And therefore, Deion Sanders is not really going to have to bend the knee to local media or regional media or even national media. Quite the opposite. Pissing them off and getting them to doubt him and getting them to criticize him publicly is going to be a lot of the fuel he uses to further his program and further his own goals. That's not going to go over well. Now, it's bad enough when he's doing it at Colorado in their minds. Fast forward 5 years. What if it's not Colorado anymore? What if it's a major, major program? You know, what if it's a place in the, I don't want to say a specific conference, but you know, you hear things. What if it's a place that's not out there in Boulder, but it's a major media market? Established, entrenched local media members that view themselves as institutions, and all of a sudden the head coach walks in the door and says, I've never heard of you before, and it's really not a big deal. I won't need to know who you are. I'll control my own messaging. I won't need you. It's fine. They already know me anyway. You know how that goes over? You know what kind of coverage that leads to? You know what kind of toxic environment that can lead to? So yeah, there's some folks out there hating on him. I just don't necessarily think it's for the reasons that a lot of the low-hanging fruit drive-by crowd out there are alleging it to be because of.